Welcome to Lesson 3, Anglo-Saxon Prefixes number 2. We've got 3 prefixes here. Un, which means not. Under, which means under. And then the A, that's going to be what we call schwa sounds. You'll see how that works in a minute. All right, so un is a Anglo-Saxon prefix. It means not. So most of these I'm just going to read because they'll be so easy to understand. They'll be very easy for anybody to understand. We have unhappy, and of course that means not, so that means not happy. And we have the adverb form unhappily, and maybe you know already that the ly makes that an adverb, which will modify a verb, adjective, or another adverb. Then we have unlikely. It's not likely to happen. Unnerving, something that takes away your nerve or your confidence. Unreserved, when you're unreserved, nothing's going to hold you back. Uninviting. The house was so messy we didn't want to go inside. It was uninviting. Or the food smelled so bad it was uninviting. Unfaithful. Now here we got a suffix full, Anglo-Saxon suffix, and we'll be studying those later. So we have a prefix and a suffix. And unfaithful means that you were not faithful. Unreasonable. Somebody may ask you to do something that you couldn't possibly do, jump over the moon, and well, that's unreasonable. And again, able, we've got us a suffix which we'll be studying later, and that simply means what it says: able, unreasonable. And the A here has the sound, unreasonable. Unstoppable, and you'll remember the 2 P's make that O short, even though it's within it's inside of a longer word. Unstoppable. Pressing on, we have unconcerned. He was unconcerned. He didn't worry about it, didn't even care about it. Unkindly. An unkindly word or unkindly remark is when someone says something that's not kind to you. Unlucky, you're not lucky. Unfulfilling, and you can chop those into separate syllables. Unfulfilling, and if you take it one syllable at a time, even these long words are very easy to read, and if you know the parts of the word, then you can figure out the meaning. For example, the job was unfulfilling. It was boring, and it just wasn't. We'd rather be teaching instead of digging holes. Next, we have uninteresting, and that is when you're watching a movie and think that's not interesting. I don't even want to watch it. It's uninteresting. Unenergetic. Maybe you've had a teacher that was unenergetic. And when they read, they just read, and the boy said, instead of, and the boy said. So you want to have energy, not unenergetic. Unappreciated. Oh, that's when you do something really good and nobody appreciates it or compliments you. You always want to feel appreciated, not unappreciated. Unfounded. That's when somebody, for example, accuses somebody of something, but they don't have proof. It was unfounded. And then unintended, and this is a very important word. Many times in life, things have unintended consequences. Unfortunately, people who teach boys and girls to memorize sight words think they're helping them, but the unintended consequences are very serious and leads to a lot of reading problems. So we never ask boys and girls to memorize words by their shape. Next we have under. Okay, understand. I hope you can understand what I'm teaching you. because it will give you an understanding. Underwent. When somebody has surgery, we say they underwent surgery. We could turn it around and said they went under surgery. Then we have undergo, which means about the same thing as underwent. Underage. There's some places that you can't get in if you're not old enough. If you're not old enough, you are underage. Understudy is a really good word. I say all my tutoring students are understudy. I'm teaching them how to teach other people. As understudy is someone who studies under someone else. So when one of my students gets really good, I'll sometimes schedule another student for the same time and let that student tutor the next student. And I'm really proud of my tutoring students who are able to become such good readers and learn my method so well that they can help others. Next, we have undernourished, and that is so sad. That's when boys and girls don't have enough food to eat, and they become undernourished, and sometimes they're very unhealthy. Then we have undercover. Maybe you've heard of an undercover cop. He doesn't wear a policeman's uniform, but he just looks like a regular citizen. But he's actually a policeman. And so when people, they don't know when they commit a crime, and they think, well, there's no policeman around, but actually there was an undercover policeman there. Next we have underserved. Underserved. We'll let that one go. We have underworked. That's when somebody doesn't have enough work, so they're underworked. Understaffed. Now that's pretty sad. That's when you have a job that needs 10 people, but you only got 4. So all of them's having to work like crazy to get the work of 10 people done, but you only got 4. Next, you have undercut, and that can be used a lot of different ways. Maybe somebody's selling something, and they're not selling very many, or 2 people are selling the same item, and so one lowers his price so that people will buy his less expensive one than the other one. So he undercuts him. We have an underachiever, and that's somebody who's capable of doing way better than what they are doing, and they're not achieving what they could be. So they're an underachiever, not reaching their full potential. Now the A, I told you we have a schwa sound here. Listen to this. The first word is alike. You could say this with the long sound, alike, and I suppose you could say it with a short sound, alike. But actually, it's what we call the schwa sound, and it goes something like that in the dictionaries. You'll see that in a dictionary. And so, alike, what happens, the A is in an unaccented syllable. So, alike, the accent's here on the end. So, alike, and the twins were alike. Next, we have amount. Amount. They paid the full amount. Aground, the ship went aground. It was wrecked on the shore. Abound, that means you have more than you need. You abound. Astonished, I'm astonished sometimes when my kids do so good when they're learning to read. And I think you'll be astonished when you finish Beyond Basic Phonics of all the words that you can read that would be hard for you to read before we did this study. Afloat, the ship was afloat. Afflict, that's an interesting word. That's when somebody's bothering somebody or irritating somebody and they're afflicting them. And there's also a word called affliction, afflict. Abide, abide means has the idea of to remain. Abide is a tricky word, and I'm going to go to my thesaurus on this. Abide, the verb means to tolerate, to bear, to put up with, to endure. And when we say abide by, that means to comply with. So if you abide by the rules, you comply with the rules, you obey the rules, you conform to the rules. So that's a pretty good study of the word abide. Affirm, when you affirm something, affirm, you're actually saying that you agree with. In a court of law, sometimes they'll say that they affirm. It's the idea of declare, to state, to assert. Okay, above, well, there you go. It's the opposite of under. That's an easy one. Alone, that's when you're all by yourself. And then arrange, that's like I arranged the words on this page and I put the prefixes in bold so that they would stand out and you would be able to see them. Now let's go to lesson 4 and the practice sentences.